Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Yeshichandra. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Thursday, the 4th of November. PM Modi celebrates Diwali with soldiers as India ushers in festivities. Opposition lambasts Pakistan government's relief package, calls it a joke acceptance of failure. And deadly US strike in Kabul, missed evidence of child present, investigation finds. And now for all the details. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday celebrated the festival of lights Diwali with soldiers stationed along the border in India's Jammu and Kashmir, keeping up with his practice of spending the occasion with the army personnel. Meanwhile, people across the country ushered in Diwali festivities by praying, exchanging sweets and lighting their homes.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday paid tributes to soldiers who laid down their lives in line of duty and celebrated the Festival of Lights Diwali with army personnel stationed near the Pakistan border in Nowshera sector of India's Jammu and Kashmir, keeping up with his practice of spending the occasion with soldiers. PM Modi also distributed sweets among the army personnel, a part of tradition of Diwali, and later in an address told them, "It is because of you, all people of our country can sleep peacefully and there is happiness during festivals." He also praised soldiers for the 2016 surgical strikes and said several attempts were made to disturb peace in the country, but the Indian Army gave a befitting reply each time.
लेकिन मैं अकेला नहीं आया, मैं मेरे साथ 130 करोड़ देशवासियों के आशीर्वाद आपको लेकर के आया, ढेर सारा आशीर्वाद लेकर के आया.
Meanwhile, people across the country ushered in festivities and offered prayers to Lord Ganesha, the Hindu god of knowledge, and the goddess of wealth Lakshmi at temples and also at their homes. It is believed that goddess Lakshmi showers her blessings upon those homes that are clean and well lit on Diwali.
माता के दर्शन पाके बहुत प्रसन्नता हुई और बहुत हर्षोल्लास के साथ आज दीपावली का त्यौहार सभी को आभार और प्रकट.
Diwali most significantly marks the return of Hindu god Lord Rama to his hometown Ayodhya after defeating demon king Ravana. Ayodhya entered the Guinness Book of World Records after devotees lit 900,000 earthen lamps in the city on Wednesday night to mark Diwali. A laser show that portrayed various facets of Ramayana, a Hindu epic, and fireworks were also organized. Legends say millions of lamps were lit when Rama returned after 14 years. Lighting earthen lamps signify welcoming Rama to Ayodhya and victory of good over evil.
Travelers fully vaccinated against COVID-19 with Indian drugmaker Bharat Biotech's homegrown COVID-19 vaccine have been given the green light to enter the US from November 8. The last-minute addition comes less than 1 week before the US launches its new travel system, which grants entry to foreign travelers who have received a vaccine that has been approved for emergency use by the US Food and Drug Administration or World Health Organization. WHO on Wednesday approved India's Covaxin for global use. The United States has given a green light to travelers vaccinated with Indian drugmaker Bharat Biotech's homegrown COVID-19 vaccine to enter the country. The revised rules will come into effect from November 8, when the US is all set to open its borders to vaccinated foreign travelers. This came as the WHO World Health Organization in a series of tweets on Wednesday said that it has approved India's indigenous vaccine Covaxin for emergency use listing, paving the way for it to be accepted as a valid vaccine in many poor countries. US Centers for Disease Control CDC on Wednesday acknowledged the WHO's granting of emergency use listing to Covaxin. The approval, which comes after a long wait, will allow for larger recognition of Covaxin by other countries to allow Indian travelers who have taken the dose to qualify for exemptions that countries offer to those vaccinated. Covaxin, developed by Indian biotechnology company Bharat Biotech in partnership with the Indian Council of Medical Research, has a 78% efficacy rate against COVID-19 and is extremely suitable for low and middle income countries because it is easy to store, according to WHO. The emergency use listing would allow Bharat Biotech to ship Covaxin to countries that rely on WHO guidance for their regulatory decisions. WHO's approval may also clear the way for India to commit supplies to the COVAX global vaccine sharing effort, which is co-led by the WHO and aims to provide equitable access to shots for low and middle income countries. In news from Pakistan, the opposition parties in Pakistan have sharply criticized the announcement of a relief package for 20 million vulnerable families by Prime Minister Imran Khan amid an all-time high inflation. They termed it nothing but a joke and an acceptance of failure.
Shortly after Prime Minister Imran Khan announced Rs 120 billion subsidy package for 20 million most vulnerable families of Pakistan on Wednesday, opposition leaders criticized the move and called it an acceptance of the government's failure and nothing but a joke. Pakistan People's Party or PPP chairman Baliwal Bhutto Zardari said the Prime Minister's package is too little for 200 million people. PPP Vice President Sher termed Prime Minister Khan's address to the nation a bizarre speech and called the Premier the blame minister of Pakistan. Meanwhile, opposition PML and Information Secretary Mariam Aurangzeb maintained that it was not a relief but a fraud package.
सबसे महंगा मुल्क पाकिस्तान इस खित्ते में इस वक्त महंगाई के बेरोजगारी के आलमी रिकॉर्ड टूट रहे हैं इस वक्त कर्जे का आलमी रिकॉर्ड टूट रहा है रुपए की कदर की कमी का आलमी रिकॉर्ड टूट रहा है इस वक्त पेट्रोल की कीमत का आलमी रिकॉर्ड टूट रहा है एक हंसते बसते तरक्की याफ्ता मुल्क 5.8% पे तरक्की करते मुल्क को पहले मनफी 0.4% पर लेकर गए और अब 2.5% का झूठ बोलते हैं रोज झूठ बोलते हैं.
In his speech, Khan, however, hinted further hike in fuel prices, which has already shaken domestic budgets and led to price rise of other commodities. He said that the price of petrol in Pakistan is low. The prices of petrol will have to be increased further, otherwise the deficit will increase.
Moving on. An investigation has found that an August drone strike in Afghan capital Kabul by the US Air Force that killed 10 civilians was not caused by criminal negligence but by a series of errors. The US military had previously called the incident a tragic mistake. The victims included 7 children.
An August US drone strike in Kabul that killed at least 10 civilians was not caused by criminal negligence but by a series of errors, including not noticing a child minutes before the strike took place. An investigation by Lieutenant General Sami Saeed, a US Air Force Inspector General, found on Wednesday. The August 29 strike killed 10 civilians, including 7 children, in an incident the military previously called a tragic mistake. Initially, the Pentagon had said the strike targeted an Islamic State suicide bomber who posed an imminent threat to US-led troops at the airport as they completed the last stages of their withdrawal from Afghanistan. It's a regrettable mistake. It's an honest mistake, Lieutenant General Saeed said.
The investigation found no violation of law, including the law of war. Did find execution errors confirmed by combined with confirmation bias and communication breakdowns that regrettably led to civilian casualties.
The strike came days after an Islamic State suicide bomber killed 13 US troops and scores of Afghan civilians who had crowded outside the airport gates, desperate to secure seats on evacuation flights after the Taliban swept to power in Kabul. Saeed did not recommend disciplinary action, but said it would be up to commanders if any accountability action should be taken.
In news from Nepal, the crisis in the judiciary in Nepal has deepened over the past 2 weeks, with demands from Lawyers Association and Justices of Supreme Court growing for Chief Justice Cholendra Shumsher Rana's resignation. The Nepal Bar Association, the Supreme Court Bar Association and 15 justices have sought Rana's resignation for seeking to get his brother-in-law appointed as a minister in Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba's cabinet and delaying the hearing of cases filed against appointments to the constitutional bodies. They have alleged that Rana is the root cause of all the mess in the judiciary. However, in wake of the continued protest by the lawyers, Chief Justice Rana referred cases that prevented the constitutional bench from hearing petitions filed against appointments to the constitutional bodies to the constitutional bench this week. Reports suggest that Rana's refusal to conduct hearing of the constitutional bench was one of the key reasons for the crisis engulfing the judiciary, and if taken earlier, things could have been different. There is no clarity on when the current crisis in the judiciary is going to end. The Supreme Court will go on a holiday for 4 days starting Thursday for the Tihar festival, also called Diwali, the festival of lights. The Indian government has reduced taxes on petrol and diesel in bid to improve consumer sentiment as Asia's third largest economy recovers from the shocks of the severe lockdowns to control the spread of the coronavirus. This move has brought festive cheers to common men. Following the suit, several state governments have taken similar steps for their respective states.
Amidst the festive fervour, commuters across India on Thursday expressed their happiness as the central government cut down excise duty to bring down its retail rates on the Diwali festival, bringing respite to common citizens. The central government announced a reduction in central levies on petrol by ₹5 and diesel by ₹10 per litre amid spiralling fuel prices, and several states followed suit by reducing local fuel taxes. Spiking global oil prices have pushed up the retail prices of petrol and diesel to a record height this month in India, which is the world's third biggest oil importer and consumer and ships in about 85% of its oil needs from overseas.
महंगाई का टाइम है, त्योहार भी है, काम धंधा है नहीं, पर सरकार ने इतना किया तो चला अच्छा लग रहा है।
मुझे तो पता नहीं था, अभी पता चला, आप ही बता रहे हैं कि पेट्रोल के प्राइस कम हुए। हम लोग के लिए तो ये दिवाली धमाका है कि कुछ तो कम हुआ पेट्रोल के प्राइस। मतलब पेट्रोल के रेट देख के हम लोग परेशान थे कि हर एक दिन में रेट बढ़ रहे हैं।
In the past few months, India has witnessed a steady growth in consumer spending with relaxation on curbs on travel and business operations due to a dip in the number of coronavirus cases. The cut in fuel taxes is likely to come as a boost to manufacturers and farmers.
Farmers associated with saffron in India's Jammu and Kashmir are happy as it is a bumper crop this year. The late rains across the Kashmir Valley have helped the farmers with the best produce after a long time. Pampore town in Pulwama is the main hub, although now the crop is being cultivated across different districts of the region as well. The saffron farmers of India's Jammu and Kashmir are happy because after several years, it's a bumper crop season. Dry spell had hit saffron production in the region, leaving the saffron growers worried. But late rains this year have worked as a boon for the crop, and harvesters are happy for their bountiful produce. Farmers in Pampore, the saffron town of Jammu and Kashmir in Pulwama district, were seen busy plucking the saffron flowers from the fields. A major chunk of the area, that is around 3,700 hectares, is under saffron cultivation.
पिछले 7 साल से नहीं निकल रहा था, तो मतलब कि इस साल तो बहुत ही अच्छा क्रॉप है, क्योंकि मतलब कि जो ज़मींदार तबका है उन्होंने बहुत ही अच्छा मेहनत किया है, उस कारण इस साल मतलब कि बहुत अच्छा, और बारिश भी आया इस साल अच्छा सा।
सबसे पहले तो हमें अल्लाह तबारक ताला का शुक्र अदा करना चाहिए कि इस साल रबी के शुरुआत में हमारे पास इतनी अच्छी 5 डिफरेंट ग्रोथ एंड डेवलपमेंट के स्टेजेस पे बारिश होगी कि हमारी ज़मीन के अंदर इतनी मॉइस्चर अवेलेबल थी कि वो रूट जोन से भी नीचे पहुंची, और जिससे हमारी सैफरन क्रॉप का जो ग्रोथ था, जो उसकी डेवलपमेंट थी, उसका जो सिलसिला है वो आपने खुद पामपुर के खेतों में देख लिया।
Saffron is considered the costliest spice in the world, and Kashmiri saffron is much superior to the Iranian saffron, its long-time competitor. Saffron and saffron field have always been major attraction for the tourists in Jammu and Kashmir. From time to time, the Jammu and Kashmir administration also organizes several events to promote Kashmiri saffron in the markets worldwide in a bid to increase the income of the farmers. Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/Asia Newsline and follow us on Twitter @Asia Newsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night and a very happy Diwali.